Hi everyone. So, in my second interview for tonight, I'm interviewing Florian. So, what's new, Florian?
Not much. Was just waiting the interview to start, pretty much.
Okay. And what have you been up to recently? And are you in stuck at home due to COVID-19?
Yeah, pretty much. So I've signed up for like volunteering, trying to do my best to stay busy all the time. Helping my parents, check up on my isolated grandmother, that kind of stuff.
I see. What you say you're volunteering doing?
Yeah,
So, what sort of volunteering?
establishing like video connections with isolated people, doing grocery shopping for those around the neighborhood who can't really like go around because like they're really old and vulnerable.
I see.
So I'm just trying to help as much as I can.
It makes sense. I think I've signed up for something similar. They haven't got back to me yet. They're very
Hmm.
slow in terms of getting back to you. That's good. Where are you based?
In France.
France. I see. Yes, quite heavily affected. Same in the UK, and our Prime Minister's gone into intensive care, which is, yeah, looks quite heavy. So, okay, and what do you do when you're not sheltering from an infectious disease?
So basically, like I've been trying to recalibrate my life since November,
Okay,
because like I was getting fed up with the complete lack of passion and like just being crushed, so to speak, by the sort of corporate kind of lifestyle all the time. And I think I just wanted to get back to sort of like my true calling that I knew was right, but I kind of like left away to enter a more like comfortable lifestyle, let's say. And so I basically abandoned like everything, all my friends, all the job I was doing, and I just realigning like all my goals and my true nature basically to go after what I want now.
okay. And what sort of hello? Sorry,
Yeah, it's
the
bad.
connection. What sort of corporate role were you in?
Oh, I was working as well. I did a lot of jobs. Like I didn't really stick to one too much for too long. So I was like a salesman. Then I got into like salesman for tech companies. Then I signed up to work like no, at the beginning, sorry, I signed up to work like with kids in holiday camps and like villages basically in vacations. And I specialized into like mountain activities, more like the winter ones, so everything related to ski, snowboard, and all that stuff. After
Okay.
that, like I worked for the National Employment Agency, so helping people make their resumes, train them for like interviews, uh, kind of like helping elderly people and those who are not used to use like multimedia tools to put their CV online and stuff like that. And then I worked for Ubisoft, which was like the player test user base. So basically, it's like inviting just normal players over and making them sign like NDA contracts to not divulge anything they're gonna play. And
Yeah.
basically, like we just like observe them with camera and OBS and hear their feedback about the balancing of the game or how they react like physically depending of the areas they're playing in and stuff like that. And then we gather all the data, analyze it, and see if well the game works more or less,
I see.
and give that
And
back to the developers.
so isn't three very different jobs, very different roles there? Did you have
Yeah,
an idea of what you wanted to go into when you were younger? What sort of role you
yeah,
want?
yeah. Yeah. I've always wanted like to basically. Also, I had two areas of care, but like it was always service oriented, more like for people and everything. So when I was like 17 years old, I was done with like 10 years of going to like organized holidays, camp and everything. And I was like, what will it be to actually be behind the scene and create activities, basically create almost like a hierarchy of like, yeah, of activities and things for kids to basically overcome their fears and whatnot. for like every day basically, and for them to in turn have a sort of like legacy of care for them to want to do the same, down the line. So creating memories for them based on like doing activities and creating moments that I will remember for a long, long time. So I was like, I think I'm gonna do that. And basically, when I was like 19 years old, I engaged into like, well, doing all the degrees and the studies and everything for that. And then in the meantime, I was doing all the studies in school. So learning about like psychology, learning about like relationship between people or to orient them in a conversation, sailing, doing like tailored kind of like solutions to their needs, depending of the kind of, how can I say that, the kind of like problematic they got. And I applied all of this into like tech specialized field, basically, always.
Okay. So see so experiences for children in a specialized tech field.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And you say you're leaving the more corporate role now. What is the new calling which you found?
Well, I just wanted to like, it's more like to align my values and the more passionate kind of outlook I got about life and the kind of vision I want for my future and everything, instead of just like following the more status oriented, like, how can I say that, the more status oriented kind of recognition society put on individuals and everything, like as if you're considered by people around by the status you got, by things you achieve and stuff like that. And it absolutely doesn't interest me. And over time, it was like I didn't really. I started disconnecting a lot, basically from my true self. I guess always like taking care of the higher ups, the needs of the enterprise of the company instead of like what I really wanted to do with people, and kind of like started to let me down pretty heavily. So I was like, I'm just gonna stop doing all of this.
Okay.
And go like probably become self-employed and more like of a life coach. So to sell my services to people who are in need.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what sorts of abilities have you always which do you have which could be very good as a life coach?
I think like, so I see people as systems basically, and I think I can understand them like really well in terms of their intent, their body language, what they mean, how they look at things, what their fear are, um, what they try to communicate with their actions and language, and how they're like actually understood by others. And I've never really like be good at emotions like at all, be for myself or for others, and everything for me is like particular solution. Like if you got X problem and I got like that kind of outlook, that's how you should actually speak and maybe have that kind of tools to realign with the kind of results you want, basically. And that's something I always been really good at.
Okay. Okay. And what have you always found to be rather more difficult?
I think relating on a really personal, close basis, like it took me an enormous amount of time of reading materials. It took me like a fail, almost a film, almost a marriage, but like when I got engaged, it basically like went down because like the girl I was thinking I was like too forceful, too overwhelming for her. I wasn't caring enough and stuff like that. And I think like just trying to just relate to people's needs, but like on how they feel, it's always been like really, really difficult for me.
Right. Okay. So let's go back a bit to when you first left high school or secondary school in and you were looking to go into that sort of career. You said you wanted to help children. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was and sort of designing those sort of activities for them? Why did you want?
All kind of. Oh, sorry.
So what was the motivator there?
Basically overcoming fear. Like because I knew that like I wanted to go for the more like extreme sport kind of stuff. So like all the kind of of activities that kids kind of tend to not really be comfortable in, or like not really be like, I don't know, they're fearing like something that like it is too big for them, to engage in. And my thing was like to always be the sort of like catalyst for them to like basically believe in themselves, and just be like, no, okay, you got will, you got that, we're here, you're safe, you can do it. And then they're like, holy shit, I can do that, and then that sparkle, like in their eyes and stuff like actually clicks. And that's what I've always kind of like be good at it, basically.
Okay. So, okay, interesting. So that catalytic. I can see that also showing up in potentially being a life coach. So how do you plan to go about becoming a life coach? What are the steps?
Well, I've been basically taking lessons about like um, emotional management and confrontational therapy and kind of stuff. And I got like the NLP coming up after a while. I'm gonna have like to work like for like 6 months before taking the full course, and then like after that it's just gonna be set in motion, I guess.
So sorry, was that last part?
Oh, I just like need to like to find a work for 6 months, basically be able to pay the whole like training thing after that.
Okay. What are you thinking of working in during the 6 months?
Oh, well, I found a work in a theme park, but like because of the coronavirus, let's say it kind of like,
Yeah.
so, and I'm trying to get higher basically now, but like it's really, really hard to have opportunities, like because the economy is falling down kind of.
Yeah.
So every day I'm kind of trying to find something, but I mean, it's cool anyway. Like if it's still going until summer, there's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of like jobs in summer, and I'm feeling worried about it.
I see. And okay. Now, this idea of becoming a life coach, when did you decide that's something you wanted to be?
I guess it was just after like my grandfather died back in November. Basically, like it felt like an enormous shift, like into I don't really know how to say that. Like, it just felt like something wasn't right anymore. Like I was in a sort of like the same loop, and I was missing like a sort of like the right kind of like direction for the vision I had for my life. And basically, it was like the only person who really believed in me. Like not even nobody else from my family or anybody else. It was just my grandfather. So basically, I was like, I think I'm gonna do all of that just like in memory of him, to sort of like carry on the legacy. And even if he can't see me now, like trying to honor him the way I can, basically.
I see. And did he coach you?
No,
Okay.
it was just someone who was showing understanding, basically, in the struggles.
I see. Okay. You said that you're someone who's had difficulty relating to people, but
Yeah.
perhaps a bit more systems oriented. How do you feel you'll be able to find the sort of that empathetic connection of a coach?
Well, I don't think that's really like so. What I find interesting about like the sort of dynamic I got with people is like when I see the more like vulnerable ones, like the more like I'm not gonna say broken, but I got a lot of like young children in my life who were like really misunderstood by my parents and everything. And the last case I had was like dyslexic girl who was really into poetry and always wanted to become a writer, basically. And she always was like feeling so bad, like she couldn't really like believe in her capacity to actually write without like doing faults or something. And her parents were like trying to discourage her because it would be too hard and too much work. And what she needed basically was the complete opposite. She was needed like really like just being pushed forward. And I think it's more about like the fact that you can understand the struggles of people and what they're going through, rather than like truly understanding how they feel at the base level. Like as if you got the right action at the right moment and the right tool set, basically, you can practically solve everything as long as you like put the form, so to speak.
Okay. So what sorts of tools have you learned already which you could use?
Oh, that's a good question. I think basically just making like, as in like concrete tools or more like.
Well, things which techniques, processes you could use to help someone in that situation.
I think it's just a lot of like making them understand that they're basically not alone. Like they're not like really alone in their suffering. They're not like alone in their whatever it is they feel, and show them other examples of what they could relate to, and then showing them like literally like just whipping on my phone and showing like description of what they're feeling right now, if it fits, and how it makes them feel and stuff like that. And then I try to like lift them up all the time, if that makes sense.
So what was that last part?
Oh, sorry, I try to lift them up like in spirit all the time.
I see.
And basically, like it always kind of does the trick. So
That's interesting because I was thinking, right, when you were talking about someone who is very good at using logical systems to solve things rather than relating to people,
yeah,
I was thinking perhaps something that was more technical. But it's interesting now you're talking about. Yeah, it's interesting because you said actually how you'd help them through that is to sort of relate to them to help lift them up.
yeah. Also, it's like a lot of confidential. Like I'm more like, I think I'm more like anger based at the core. And I think in terms of technique, I'm just gonna like push them with all things I learned through like yeah, basically it's anger therapy. So it's like trying to find techniques to make push them through their fear or whatever they're thinking they're entitled to, and like piss them off so much that they're gonna snap out of it. You're never gonna be like, oh, okay. And I'm kind of good at that actually.
I see. I see. Thank you. Hmm. Okay. Let me see. So, what are some of your hobbies and interests?
I got a lot of so I like to basically indulge in everything that's like kind of physical, from sports to so it can be both. It's kind of seasonal actually, so it kind of vary a lot depending of like the weather and everything. But I like to be busy physically and mentally a lot, more physically than mentally. So I do a lot of sports. I go to the gym. I run kind of every day. I do sports inside because of the quarantine. So like I got my sort of routine and stuff. I play board games. I read like comics and mangas and stuff like that. I used to play a lot of MMOs back in the days and having my own guilds, managing everybody, having the red schedule set up, making sure that like stuff was running well basically. Uh, what else? I go to movies a lot. And my favorite hobby is actually going to theme parks with people. Like I'm kind of like a roller coaster fanatic. It's kind of stupid at that point, but yeah.
Why do you like roller coasters?
Well, I think because basically like theme parks are like a kind of like a microcosm of life when you think about it. Like it's all about like that sort of magical moment where you can observe people being all about like being happy and everything, and you got like a set of time where you have to basically maximize the kind of experience you want based on your needs, and like just chain ride everything until you can't walk anymore. Basically, that's the whole thing. And what I also like about it a lot is like all the coasters are different. There's a lot of like different kind of manufacturers, kind of companies, and every company does like have their own spin basically. And being into that hobby, like it also enables me to be curious about the world and everything because there's so many parks around the world who have like unique rides and everything that you need to go see and watch and just experience basically. It's kind of good like for also for people to like when you take kids or just friends and everything, just the experience of the ride itself, like they see like for example the first drop, I know like how intense it is for them and how they can't like bypass it. When you just take them, like, they go on it, like they might to panic and they end up like really loving it. I think it's like kind of like it's kind of experience of life itself, but in within a more controlled environment. So I kind of like it. a lot actually.
Great. Thank you. And do you have many friends?
No.
Okay. And how many do you have any close friends?
No. I mean, I got one and two like on the internet, but in real life, not really. I just like use Meetup or like applications, like basically to meet up random people. Like, so I can like experience the things I like alone or not. Like, I don't really care. It's funnier if there's like more people in the experience, but I wouldn't say like I care a lot about having like close connections or stuff like that.
What did you say that you care about the most?
Just living life to the fullest, basically.
Okay. And what does living life to the fullest look like?
Well, it's being like just passionate, fearless, not being like constrained by anything, basically. Like you just like it's all about the will to push through stuff, like anything that wants to hold you back, being like a societal norm or it's just being like authentic to what you want, building a vision of where you want to go, and do everything in your power, basically on what you like and what you want out of all the experience and make it real for you.
Okay. What was an example of something which you found limiting or restricting?
When I can't really do anything, when I'm stuck in an environment that's like completely based on just waiting around and just like relaxing, or you have to stay at the same place for hours, stuff like that, or being stuck in the loop, basically.
Being stuck in the loop.
Yeah, I had that feeling.
What was the last time you felt you sort of stuck in a loop like that?
I think it's kind of like periodic. It was periodic at some point, and that's why I just changed my life completely around because I was always engaged into like building something new that was meaningful to me, and then like putting like assembling all of it like as if I were like bricks or something,
Right.
So I was like, if I do this and then do this and then engage with this, I got vision, it's clear, I got a structure, I got all I want, I can go. And it was like if like the most important part of it will like basically fall, I like I guess being freewheeling without a structure or without a clear direction or like something constraining for me, like if there's no something intense to push me forward, like that's basically being in a loop.
So what was
And
the time?
repeating that kind of like
So what was a time in your life when you were in this sort of loop?
when I'm caught like after a bad breakup and losing my job at the same time or that kind of stuff, and you're trying to figure out like where it didn't work and why, and after that you kind of want to have a I don't know a different experience basically, but you end up in the same pattern of actions, and like realizing that you don't really like you try to change but it doesn't, and then like the same kind of pattern happens again and again, and after like you just like okay, it's okay, I took the message now. It's cool, I'm gonna change.
Yeah. How easy is it for you to change your mind?
I'm kind of really stubborn actually. I don't change my mind a lot of stuff. Like
Okay.
if anything, I don't really let like when I've got my reasoning planned out and I think I'm right all the time. If I'm not all the time, it's like I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. It's that kind of mentality. So I got like the too forceful stuff like pretty much all the time. So I'm saying no, I don't really change my mind a lot. I
Okay.
just like recognize opportunities basically and try to get like which one is the best one adapted at the situation.
Okay. Now you mentioned exercise before. Could you tell me a
Yeah,
bit more about your exercise?
yeah, I do like running because like because of the quarantine, you can basically like it's
Yeah.
1 kilometer radius. So I just like there's a park outside of my apartment and I run every day like 20 minutes. Then I come home and do like mountain climbers all the time. For now, I used to go to the gym, but like it's completely closed now. So I was doing like rowing, all kind of cardio stuff because like I've never really like it's not I'm not a believer of like pure strength, like physical strength. but I've always been more of the leg guy, kind of like I prefer to have a good like fortitude and constitution and everything to be able to like always push through things and move around and kind of like being able to just outmaneuver people, if that makes sense, rather than just like having the full force to push
So
through.
what do you mean by outmaneuvering people?
Well, kind of physically and mentally, because like there's a lot of like uh, I think I prefer being faster than people and being more agile and kind of thing, rather like being like more forceful, like physically speaking.
Okay. And what was the situation where you've had to outmaneuver someone?
Um, when I go too far, I guess.
Okay. Where have you gone too far?
Into like pissing people off with the wrong words by completely intending everything. But yeah.
Okay. What was the situation where you upset people with the wrong words?
I don't know. I try to not like being really, how do you say like basically I just leave people alone because I don't really consider them. But it's like I always get like that aura of being like super condescendent or like arrogant or that kind of stuff with who's around. But like, and when I try to just help and things aren't really going well, and I'm like, okay, you should have done that, you should have done that, you should have done that. And people are like, stop, you're not helping, and that kind of thing. And usually, like when people try to talk back or getting personal, there's always like a sort of like react like immediate reaction kind of, and I don't really know like when to stop basically.
Okay. Hmm. So, okay, we didn't quite get what you said to actually cause it to get out of hand. What did you say?
Oh, it's low blow stuff kind of. It's just like it's just really meant to tweet hard and tweet as low as possible because I really don't give a shit. So, so like it's like
Okay.
if I know they got like flaws and everything, I'm just gonna like push really hard on that to make sure that they understand the message.
Okay.
So if the guy is really like I don't know, like muscle mass or something, I'm just gonna try to outmaneuver. Otherwise, I'm just gonna take it because it's kind of fun to be kept in check, I guess, or just
Okay.
like test the will of those people. I don't know.
Hmm. When was the last time that you changed your mind and why?
The last time I changed my mind and why? Um, I guess it was not too long ago with a romantic prospect actually.
Mm.
So I was almost ready to completely walk away because uh, like basically it was going in ways that were really weird, like not consistent at all, like in terms of like what should have been going steadily in terms of like bonding and everything. And it was like the person was being like kind of like chaotic and not really knowing what she wanted and stuff like that. And I just wanted like to really go away, basically.
So she didn't know what she wanted, and you wanted
Yeah,
her to go away.
yeah.
Why?
Because I think like not normally like relationships or when you want to just bond with somebody, like if it's not on the same page and if there's not a will like that is based on the same needs, like what was the point of trying to force anything? I mean, like just just move on, just find something else.
Okay.
But that's
So,
why I changed my mind because
so,
yeah,
so sounds like you expected her to show more of a will to you, a
yeah,
desire, right? And because she wasn't quite sure, you
yeah.
said, "Who cares? You're not showing
No,
it."
it was more like actually it seemed like we were like on the same page and everything, and it was just going back and forth all the time, and I can't deal with uncertainty or like unreliable people or just like I can't deal with that. Like I don't have the like it's cool if you don't want to, but just don't like jerk me around or something, like
I see. And how often can you find yourself being jerked around?
not actually almost never.
Okay. Hmm. Okay. Let me see. How often do you get what you want?
Pretty much all the time. But there's always a way to like get what you want based on either through like through will and negotiation, or just like simply being like willing to walk away, basically. Because when you think about like negotiation and value, like I think the strongest like negotiating position is to always walk away and mean it, because like value is created by scarcity. So if you were just willing to simply like let it go and everything, people are gonna fear they're gonna lose something, you know. They're gonna lose your attention, they're gonna lose you, they're gonna lose like whatever it is you want. So basically I just apply that principle pretty much all the time.
Right. So the principle of the idea that if you're showing you're willing to walk away, then people will more likely.
Yeah. Like if you're
Okay.
not uncompromising about like what you want at some way, you just mean it and results come.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's better. Good. Right. Let me see. So, why do you like to exercise? So you said you like to get up your constitution. You like to keep yourself agile. What sort of?
Yeah.
So, how do you go about doing that? Do you have some sort of schedule, some sort of routine?
No, I just want to do it like any time in the day as long as the weather is good. Basically, if it's not like crazy raining or something, I'll just go run.
Okay. Hmm. And okay, that makes sense. And did you say you do anything else as well as running, or was it just running?
No, for now it's just running because I can't really. I mean, the gym is closed.
Oh, yeah, I know,
School.
but when it's not when you're not when you're not under social isolation,
Yeah.
how about then?
Oh, you mean in terms of exercise? You mean in terms of exercise when everything is open?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry,
When
Jack. Okay.
yeah,
Good.
when everything's.
Just came by.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So when things are open, what do your exercise patterns look like then?
I go with my brother basically because we go to the same gym, so it's always at the same hours basically when he's going. So it's either 3 or 4 times in the week with him or not.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
basically that's it.
Okay. What are your favorite things to do when you're actually in the gym?
It depends. Like usually I used to have like more like cardio based exercise, like the same loop all the time, just increasing like the length of the exercise or intensity of it. And after that, I switched to like push pull legs, basically push pull legs cardio.
So what's push pull cardio?
Yeah. So basically, like one day, it's basically all exercises based on pushing,
Right.
and then pulling, and then the leg day, and then cardio.
Okay. That's pretty cool. And is your brother older or younger?
He's younger.
Okay. How close are you to your family?
Ah, that's kind of a weird one. Not really close. I mean, in terms of like, um, if it's some of like emotional closeness, I can't say I'm really close to them because like we're so different in everything. And I had like a really manipulative mother. Like she was the perfect example of bait and switch, basically. So she was always baiting people with like a promise of an activity or something, you know. And when you'd come, you were like super excited for the thing to happen. And she would just be, okay, so you care more about that than me.
Right.
And didn't really help.
Florian, I just might need to very quickly move into the other room because
Sure.
this needs to turn into a bedroom right now. So let me just move, and I will be back in 20 seconds. Sorry about that.
Sure. No problem.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah, back. Let me see what else I can ask you. So, say your mother was more of a sort of base and switch. You take that
Yeah.
sort of view. Do you still live with your family? Or do you live?
No. No. I'm another place and everything.
Okay. And what do you like to do just when you're in your own place?
Well, I mean, it's a very minimalistic place basically because like I like to be into places that like kind of reflect the state I am like in life. So I have very little like how can I say that like commodities, like extra things I don't need at all. So it's very like minimalistic and everything. So I don't have TV, I don't have anything like that because right now I don't. It's not the kind of thing I should focus on. So I just got a computer to basically like apply to jobs online and play games at times, or just like watch a movie online with friends or stuff, and a board game and a couple of books, and that's it. I'm most always outside.
Which friends do you like to watch movies with?
Oh, maybe you know him. It's Duke. Duke and another person.
I see. Are you good friends with Duke? I remember
Yeah,
Duke.
yeah, it's kind of funny.
Okay. I see. So one of your more online friends.
Yeah.
So what makes some of your online friends your closest online friends?
I like actually so Duke. I kind of like him because he doesn't hold back on anything in terms of language or he wants to talk to me or stuff like that. Like he just never holds back on anything at all. And I kind of like that about him. Like he doesn't like he just never shut up basically. So it's kind of fun. Like can insult him like back and forth. There's never like hard feelings about anything. So no.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. And so you say you're looking for a job now, and
Yeah,
that's to help you become a life coach,
yeah, basically.
right? I see. So what sort of job are you looking for that can sort of keep you going?
Oh, something I'm already like skilled at, so I'm just gonna go sell some stuff, I guess.
So what was that? I didn't hear.
I'm just gonna go back like to selling things for 6 months in order to,
Okay.
and then go forward.
And how used to how so you say selling things? What you said you had a
Yeah,
sales before.
yeah,
So how was sales for you?
very easy actually.
Mm,
Because like coming up with like solutions, like tailor-made solutions to problems, to unique problems, and like just figuring out like what people need or just go get them for it when they actually know what they need to begin with.
hmm
Like it was kind of natural actually. Not really have any problems with it.
Okay. Let me see. So, could you give me an example of one of your better solutions you were able to come up with when you were doing sales?
Well, I kind of like say like anything that's like multimedia, so it's all TVs, computers, video games at times and stuff like that, basically. So when somebody was trying to talk to me about an abstract problem, it was like, so I kind of want like to put all my computers in a network at home and do that thing and do that thing. Like, is it possible? I'm like, yeah. Well, if you want to create a hub, you just need this, this. We need like we got all of these products, or you can use like how do you call that? Electrical outlets where you can use like internet through it and use that on a like center on a central hub for to have like all your computers linked at once and everything. So it's always like just like practical problems like that basically.
Well, okay, I'm just trying to visualize that. So, what was like? It's a specific person who you went to actually see, and how did you reach that solution with them?
I just listen to their needs. So basically, they ask a question. I make sure then that I understand the question properly by just like repeating what the person just said.
Yes.
Um, so if I understand properly, you're telling me this, and you want that, but like yeah. So after that, I just offer them a solution and ask them if they're like basically in tune with the solution that is presented. And
Mm,
if that fits, it's good. Otherwise, we just refine it
okay.
to something that they'd like more.
And what sorts of solutions do you How do you internally come to a solution?
It's almost instinctual at that point. Like you just know like what the start of the need is, like the basic the starting point. Then you just like see the other end, like the end point, and all you have to guess is what is in the middle, basically. So it's just a game of connection, basically.
Right. Okay, so so I'm just trying to figure that out. So there's a sort of starting point,
Yeah.
and you reach an end point. But what's going on internally in terms of how do you reach that solution with them? How do you get to that solution?
It's just on technicalities. Like for example, if they want a TV, let's say, they're like, okay, so I got my Netflix sub. I've heard like now there's new technology. I can benefit of like, say, the new HDR set or with 4K TVs, but I don't know anything about it. What can you actually explain to me in simple ways? So I'm gonna explain them like the kind of different technologies, so the QLED, OLED, or OLED displays, basically what it means for them and how it displays like the picture and everything. I'm gonna explain them like the HDR technology, and then depending of like their usage, like if they watch the news all the time, you're not gonna sell them an OLED because it has burn-in all the time. It's more like to watch like as movies in a sort of casual way, you know. So just being like pretty super precise stuff based on very precise need, basically.
So I didn't hear that bit about. Did you say that you weren't telling them some information?
Yeah. So basically, of what they because if they don't really know the material, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna explain to them the different kind of technologies and the kind
Right.
of usage they meant toward, and
Yes.
see if it fits what they need, basically.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. So who's your I've got a better question. How so when you're going to be coaching, how are you going to build a rapport with people?
Well, I guess it's just like report with people. Well, by just simply trying to understand them. That's all. That's all. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
Like what? Like it's always like pretty much like problem solution and being sufficiently appealing to get them close to you or something like where you want them, and then understanding them and like offering like it's always kind of the same thing. It's sort of offering a sort of like tailor-made approach to them and in a sort of like comforting way, and so they feel like they're actually listened and understood, and then you just like I don't know build a reputation and stuff like that.
So you listen to them, you build a reputation.
Yeah.
Right, I see. Through listening, through understanding where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm still trying to think over some more questions I can ask you. It's not yet clear for me, I should say. I'll tell you why I am. I think a beta type makes sense. The question of which beta type is something which I find a bit more to work out. And I'll say
Yeah.
why. I know that you're talking about a lot of extrovert sensation.
It's really important for me.
Yes, you're talking a lot about it, but I'm not necessarily seeing a lot of it. Also, a lot of the questions earlier, yes, you talk about more of the stubbornness, which I think can perhaps make say a beta integrator,
Mm.
of knowing your mind, not easy changing your mind. This idea that you have some sort of vision which you want to pursue, you found that
Yeah.
vision, being inspired by your grandfather, which is idea that relationship has also inspired you to sort of go and pursue this long-term
Yeah.
outcome. There was a lot of language about not really relating to anyone, but also having friends online. And also, a lot of your answers, at least when I asked you about how you sort of approach that sort of helping them as, say, a coach, you seem to default to more extroverted ethics answers. And even going to a theme park, also seeing people's reactions around you and focusing on those reactions, also conveyed quite a bit of extroverted ethics. in sort of a way which sort of you're talking about it. It's certainly there. So I'm not yet entirely sure. I'm not sure I'm actually seeing much of the extrovert sensation yet. One thing I've been doing is trying to ask for more precise answers for questions. I think if I could find more precision, and I could see more of that sensation and logic. Did you have a type already thought for yourself? Did you have
I got type like 5 years ago, basically. It was I got type EIE and I subtype basically. So yeah.
Interesting. And who was that with?
Hmm?
And who was that with?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Who typed you EIE? Introvert.
Oh, it was a bunch of people back then, like a group of people on Skype, on from forums. Like it was Shmoo, Dave, Q-Tip. But it was early typers basically. I guess I don't know if they're still around. And what's funny is like the person who typed me, she's actually found me on your group today.
So
she's there.
She telephoned you. Did you say?
Oh, she found me on
She found you.
Yeah, on Facebook in your group today. She just popped back. I was like, what?
Okay. And when you so what about that typing did not fit right for you, or did it fit?
I didn't really have any problem with it, but it's just like I think it's just on Discord there were a lot like people trying to think I was Gamma basically, or like no, you're SEE, no, you're IEE. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So you guys are just completely crazy. And I think Duke was like, no, Duke was like, no, you are SEE actually. I think you're really SE base or NE base. I was like, okay. So I was like, maybe I'm gonna just go spin the wheel again.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I can. It seems to me that extrovert sensation is something that you value, and the need to push seems to be something that should show that quite a bit.
Yeah.
What I found very interesting was in your relationship. Well, a potential relationship where you were found with someone who was quite indecisive, and they weren't showing that sort of will and decisiveness to actually go out and try to get you. And so eventually he said, well, what's the point if you're not going to be committed for going for me? What's the point? And that also makes me fit, which also strikes me as slightly unusual for, say, a more sensory beta. In that, when it comes to say an SLE, for example, an SLE isn't necessarily going to be a type where, faced with indecision in their potential partner, they'd turned off by that. If anything, they're going to be the ones deciding, and they're going to be the ones actually, using that as a reason to get in there. And actually,
it's basically what I did when I said that I was like kind of put off by that thing in particular. I was like, okay, but like actually this person went through like a lot of barriers, and she's still kind of like trying. Like she hasn't been lying, and that was the big point for me. Like she was honest about like being, I mean, not ready or anything, Well, the kind of excuse, because like some people are gonna say that, like to basically say they're not into you, and then they use an excuse and you don't hear from them again. That's basically how it works most of the time. And it's fine. I mean, like you can just find someone else. But that one in particular, I thought she was like, okay, so she's actually probably really feeling this, and I think like it would be a wasted opportunity to like not dig through and see where it could lead. So I just like took a bit of time when we clashed kind of a lot. We tried to explain like we had like kind of like how can I say that understand hardship in mutual understanding, because like I use kind of words like at face value for what they mean almost in like dictionary sense, and being really like kind of not rigid, but that's my base of understanding. And so my friend Duke, he was like, try to use the four magic words more often. Like, what do you mean? I was like, oh shit, okay. So I did that, and basically I could see there was something there, so I decided to forward.
Okay. Let's see. So it's interesting because that's really trying to put yourself in her shoes when you're faced with, a relationship difficulty. If someone doesn't seem to know what they're doing.
No.
So, well, it wasn't you putting yourself in their shoes.
No, it wasn't.
Sounds a bit. So could you say that again, just because I'm having difficulty
Oh,
understanding?
sorry, no. I wasn't putting myself in her shoes because I was really understanding where she was coming from and what kind of like the the short-term results versus like the long-term result in terms of meaning. So I just wanted to put like a bit of time to see what it could mean and if I was right into like the kind of conclusion I already had basically. So I kind of pulled away and went along with it and just like basically remain indifferent, if that made sense. And there were terms like it's actually kind of weird. Like she wanted to use like the whole understanding was based on the let's be friends thing, because she meant friends as a basis to actually slow things down, but not really change the dynamic of the relation. And I was understanding that of something like entirely platonic and like friends, like actual friends. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do like the friends thing because like it's not what I want basically. And we basically had a 1 hour explanation about that not too long ago. It was kind of painful in a way.
Okay, so you said basically you tried to get a sense of where she was coming from, and that's the
More
main.
like
Yeah,
more like the definition of the words and what she meant, more like where she was coming from emotionally. That makes sense.
yeah. Okay, so there's that sort of forming of that sounds to me like an expression of empathy.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's the idea that you are trying to understand where she's coming from. Also you're someone who said that you haven't really. There are contradictions here which I'm still trying to sort of piece together,
mhm.
because part of it is also you saying that you haven't really related to people. You said that you haven't really related to people when earlier on in this interview, but also now when you use this example, it seems to me that there was someone who didn't really know what they wanted. So okay, I'm facing someone who doesn't really know what they want. How can I sort of get to understand where they're coming from, and also then
Mm,
kind of sort of understanding their perspective. And it's interesting that also when you are in your, let's say, when you're talking about your coaching, how you'd approach someone who, is experiencing some sort of problems. You're talking about trying to lift them up
yeah,
emotionally,
basically.
trying to actually create a sort of emotional lift up with them. And it wasn't about sort of the
Because
what.
it's not personal.
Hmm?
It's not really like on a personal basis, like when I train, when I'm saying,
No, that doesn't seem so personal. I agree.
yeah,
That seems more about extroverted ethics,
mm,
more about lightening up their mood, getting to feel good about a certain situation.
yeah,
And
exactly.
also, and we see that pattern as well when you were in, yes, when you were taking care of children, creating experiences for children as part of Ubisoft, right? And that idea that you're actually creating something which children can take from that, it can give them a positive experience.
Yeah,
So I'm seeing quite a bit of extroverted ethics in terms of what you're talking about. At the same time, I see extrovert sensation, but it was sort of, in a way, it came across as a bit of sort of like a braggadocious extrovert sensation. Where you're saying, this is really, really important about me. I need to feel really, really, really driven in what I'm doing. I need to be, I need to constantly feel more agile, more able to outcompete. So I'm just sort of trying to piece some of that together. I'm wondering, when you see yourself as a coach, right?
yeah.
Well, where do you see yourself in, let's say, how old are you now?
33.
23.
No, 30, 33.
33. Where do you see yourself in 20 years' time?
Basically my own house in the countryside, possibly another country. Well traveled, my own business, like coaching position or whatever, like being my own boss basically. Wife, one kid. I would love to have a daughter actually. And yeah, basically being able to travel like at
Mhm.
the places I didn't go to yet.
I see. And it's interesting also there that although early you say you didn't quite relate to people, could you actually tell me a bit more why you've never really felt able to sort of relate to people?
because I felt like it's just I never really know how to deal with them personally. Like I'm not. It's like I don't really value them as an entity, you know, as a feeling or whatever. I just value more the fact that like they're driven, that can do things, that can be reliable, they can be this, they can be that. But it's always in a sense of like pushing forward, but never really as a person. Like I see pretty much everybody, and including myself, as expendable, if that makes sense. But like I don't really know how to like not hurt like stomping feelings or stuff like that, and I've always like never really cared about it either. And it's always been like a sort of like really hard point for me in a sense, like in terms of relating directly. And I always needed to like read a lot of material to just learn to deal with that more like human being, I guess. I don't know, someone more in tune with that.
How do you? It's a good question. So, how do you know when you like someone?
Um, I don't really know. Like it's like they're just perseverance, you know, like they're just persistent in their efforts, and like they're just trying to earn me basically. It's like I want my like they're just really trying hard, like, and there's a
Right.
sense of like there's almost a sense of like sharing the kind of same values, and maybe after that when we get to know them, like if they want the same kind of things, almost like in a tribalistic way, in a sense. And that's when I kind of know like they are the kind of people I want to be around, basically.
That's interesting. It's very interesting. This idea that it's not about you going to get them. It's not you
Yeah,
to win them over. You're sort of you wanting them to show that they really want you. And you don't really necessarily, it's not really a question of whether you actually like them or not. It's whether they're
yeah,
showing that commitment to take you.
yeah, basically.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Here's where I am. I'm leaning most. I know. I think Kat said testing SCE. I'm actually wondering about a different type. I still think beta, but I'm wondering about IEI.
Yeah, well, I get that all the time in tests.
Yeah, and I say IEI because that thing there, right? That is an extrovert sensation suggestive thing. You're looking to the other person to show the extrovert sensation to win you over, to put in
Yeah,
that
that's
sort of
basically that.
And it's interesting that in terms of how you oriented your life, there was a sort of a lack of factual specifics. I was asking sort of how you're going to get to this point, you go to that point. Oh, I'll get a job, I'll do some courses, and I'll do a job where keep me ticking while I can also get onto the coaching. I saw none of the specifics and the practicalities in terms of what you're actually going to do, because starting up becoming a life coach is a difficult thing. There are lots of practical parts to it. There are lots of going
Yeah,
out, networking, forming those relationships. I didn't really see those specifics. What I saw was a general idea of where you wanted to go. That was influenced by quite a meaningful experience that you had with your grandfather. That
yeah,
seemed to be the main thing. And now you've sort of gone, you've left your role, you've now found this cause, and your life is oriented around that cause. There's no
yeah.
distractions,
It's
there's
cool.
no
Yeah,
computer, no this, no that. And what I found was sort of distracting, perhaps, was a lot of what I thought was braggadocious sounding talk about extrovert sensation. Like, oh, you're going out, you're being really active, you're being really agile, you're getting into and doing those sorts of things, and talking about pushing people. I wasn't necessarily seeing that. I wasn't really seeing the sort of the factual, concrete sides. That confused me a bit. But when you're
makes sense.
talking there about how you relate to romance with other people, that seems very much about let them do the activity, let them do the driving, the forcing. And also, if they don't do it, it's like they haven't, don't you?
Yeah, because it's when I find really like comfortable at some point to actually like give all of myself back. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So if there's no effort, like if I mean, I think there's a lot of give and take to do, but you have to be sure, and that's all I'm getting sure actually.
yeah. And I know that, for instance, let's say an SCE, as an example, and we're talking about SCE. SCE is very much about they're going out and doing the winning over. Take their duals annihili, for instance.
Yeah,
Annihili is not going to do any winning over. The SCE is doing the winning over. Laura's saying she thinks you need a second interview. I'm thinking maybe a second interview might be a good idea. I would be open to a second interview with you because I think some of the stuff we need to piece together because we have gone over an hour. I think that's something which may be worth looking at and exploring more. Emma's asking about SI, introverted sensation. So let me ask a question. So what do you do just to relax?
I don't know, I just like to walk, basically.
To do what, sorry? Walk?
To walk, yeah. Like
Okay.
walking.
Why do you like walking?
It's peaceful, like there's a sense of like being sort of like in the moment and just like being indulged into like looking at the beauty of the world and taking in some like meaningful things, that you can remind yourself of, and it's just really relaxing. It's just a sort of personal space I like to go about, basically.
Okay, that's fine. No, fair enough. I mean, I don't get the impression of someone who's completely out of touch with introverted sensation. I don't get that sense. I'm not sure there's that same sort of fluidity. I didn't get much sort of richness in sort of the communication of introverted sensation coming out. Sometimes I find that it can be difficult in interviewing someone. What they're telling me isn't necessarily what I'm seeing in the actual actions and what people are doing. So there's a bit of I'm still trying to piece that together. I think maybe other people here can ask some questions as well. That could be helpful. I think the audience here have some questions. Oh, Lissa, no, actually hasn't. Florian, you haven't said if you don't see yourself in the results. No, it's more that I'm sort of getting mixed signals, and I'm trying to sort of figure this out. I'm trying to get to a clearer understanding. It's inconclusive so far. I think a second interview could be good. But does anyone else have any questions you could ask? Here's one from Fate. When it comes to conflicts, would you say that you prefer to be more offensive and forceful, or more deep?
I'm offensive.
Sorry?
I'm always offensive. Like it's about like standing your ground and not letting anybody like go through. And so I'm just gonna push through until I get like my side of the argument coming through, basically.
Okay. And you've also said, here's another one from Duke. This one. What do you think about weak people?
Like you, Duke, I shoot them. I can't. No, I don't know. Weak people? I mean, that's a kind of vague question. Like there's weak and entitled, basically. Like there's really weak people who don't really deserve, like, if they're in there and fake and just not productive or anything and don't like show any kind of will to change their condition and stuff like that, I don't think they're even worth taking into consideration, basically. They're not worth the time.
Okay. Have you ever been in a position of weakness?
At some point, yeah, when I was being way too vulnerable and way too like understanding. I think it's when like you can be taken advantage of, I guess. And I went there like 2-3 times and never again, basically.
I see. I see. And what did you do to make yourself strong?
I've read a lot of like material about like the true definitions of self-esteem, the true definition of confidence, like how to get like composure and basically just getting like an uncompromising kind of like style about things. And there was a friend earlier was talking to me like forceful presence, which is like a concept about all of this basically, which is like apparently better than psychotherapy. And I was telling her that like all about this, like what she was telling me, was exactly what I was doing since like a couple of years now.
So, okay, let me see. So yes, you learned something which all you learned over time how to establish a sort of more forceful presence.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Okay.
in more like a sense of like when you're actually willing to be vulnerable about things, and you always notice that like the more like people use like their own kind of misery to use you, you can show understanding like as a form of like respect or establish a sort of like implicit contract of trust or something and get a result down the line. And basically, I stopped doing that entirely. Like I don't. I've put myself in a position where I don't even like if I see the pattern in this happening, I'm not even trying to give a chance now.
See, all right. So if you see a pattern in terms of how someone's going to try to be forceful to you, don't give them any chance.
Yeah, if it's coming from that kind of place, yeah.
What would you most like to still grow and develop in?
Mm. Most like I want to basically like, but well, like, it's kind of the same thing. Just like leave of what just leave out of what like I'm the most passionate about and empower people and like create a legacy of like almost them taking care of others in a sense and creating
So,
memories and stuff like that.
what do you mean by legacy?
I think creating like a desire for people to recognize like the value of taking care and creating like a sort of like report of how do you call that in English? Um, not kindness or benevolence, but I'm trying to find the word what I'm looking for. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like giving people the desire to basically empower themselves to like be stronger, be passionate, and giving and them giving in time like and them giving that in turn, like sort of like a domino fall basically
Uh-huh.
through time.
So I didn't have that last part.
Oh, sorry, like it's like a domino fall
Yeah,
basically in time for just never stops, like full time all the time basically.
I see. So by empowering some people, they can then pass that on to others.
Exactly.
Legacy. I see. Mm,
Benevolent circle. That's what I'm looking
mm,
for.
okay.
Virtuous circle.
So where do you see your coaching going in the long run in terms of his dominoes?
I think I like it like to almost never stop in terms of impact and always like adapt to have like new techniques in case I need to have like new cases I wouldn't really know about and just in time, or at least I think it's like creating the initial like impact in time and create like the longest memory possible and trying to rekindle that kind of memories
Mm,
and giving people then after that like the desire to create that kind of memories with others basically. So I think it's until like there's no one else to tell or like no recollection possible.
okay. Hmm. And what would you do if you find out that becoming a life coach wouldn't work?
I guess I would still be in service anyway. That's basically it. Like I would try to still stay in that area because it's kind of like my niche, let's say. I guess I would try to maybe go back to like what I know how to do, but in a better environment that is more aligned with my values and what I want out of the world, instead of like adapting to values that are not my ideals.
So what do you mean by in service?
Oh, in service of others, basically.
I
Like
see.
not really expecting anything in return and just like helping out.
Hmm. So helping out and doing service of others.
Yeah,
And why is that important to you?
because that's all I feel useful.
Sorry, was
as
that?
a it's how I feel useful as a tool, let's say.
Hmm.
Like having an immediate impact, and that's all impacting your environment, or just trying to genuinely have an impact at any level. If you do that with people, I think it has a significantly more impact than just a mere reactions, I guess. Like it has
Okay.
to kind of like combine the two,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Okay. Interesting. That is interesting. Hmm. So, and how have you made yourself more as useful as you can be?
Basically by changing like the areas of jobs. Like as I said, when I started as a salesman, and then like reaching out to like the whole kids thing, basically touching like different demographics, and then going into like the national agency of a parliament, and then like Ubisoft with all the kind of thing. Like it's always trying to trying to help basically in as many like impactful, like large scale impact kind of thing basically. Because if you think about it, like if you work into an employment agency and you have
Yeah.
people like do all their tools and everything, in turn that kind of like knowledge, they're gonna be
Yeah.
okay. So I saw that guy; he was really good at it. He told us to do this and this and this, and now we can do that, and then they keep the template. We can give that to others and everything. It's always kind of like that.
And what do you mean by a template?
Oh, the methods like to create their CVs, like because usually since the methods are always evolving through time, there are quite a bit of like tricks you have to do to put your CV online, and so we go through bots and stuff, and we just give like long detailed list of like step by step actions to do,
Okay.
and like the websites to use and everything in priority. The
Mm.
method like
So what is a okay? So what is a situation where you have felt most useful? Where what is a specific situation, specific time and place where you felt you're at your most useful?
when I guess I managed to um, almost flipped around like people's perceptions of themselves for them to believe in themselves and just go on with what they're actually afraid of.
Hmm.
That's where I feel like my impact is the most valuable.
Hmm. Right. But what is like a specific time when that happened?
Well, yeah, like when you don't in my line of work, like when I was with when you do that with like people like unemployed people who got like for example like inadapted everything, basically the whole time you're employed and trying to do your best and stuff, like that's the whole period of time. But if I have to give a precise time frame, it will be like 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah. So okay. So there's a time 5 years ago where
Yeah,
you were able to turn around someone's perceptions.
yeah.
Okay. And so how did that play out? How did that time 5 years ago play out?
Play out in terms of
Yeah. So you just run me through what happened. Like, when they came to you, or you came to them.
no. So basically, I was employed at the agency. They came.
Right.
They they were like, okay, so I'm really not good at this. I need more confidence. I need to have my stuff together. I need to be trained into interviews and everything. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna review all the key points you need, and we're
Okay.
gonna train you for that. And then we were like analyzing, so basically their job skills and which job skills could be transferable into another profession if they really felt stuck at their jobs and they couldn't take it anymore. And basically trying to like make them believe that they could with what they knew, and they had the capacity to basically learn a new set of skills which would complete their own lacks, and then we would train them. And when they got out and came back after all the trainings and everything, they were like, okay, well, it really worked, thank you and stuff. And
I
basically it's
see.
that.
Okay. Now that's okay. Now I'm seeing a lot more of a specificity. So that is helpful to me. So it's now caused me to wonder. Yes. Okay. Now that's very useful to me, because before I was wondering you weren't showing much factual specificity, but now you are. Now you lead me through processes. Right. So what I'm now wondering is about. Let's see. What do people do which causes you to dislike them?
So they're trying to push their own agenda into like almost in bad faith, basically. You know, when they're trying to like explain a point where they're basically like like they're trying to defend a point of view of what they're trying to explain that absolutely not correlate in any capacity to what actually happened. And they're really trying to push the envelope, you know? And that's the kind of thing that really pisses me off really quickly. Because it's not
Right.
consistent to any kind of logical link or anything like that. And they're not being faithful either, you know?
And what do you mean by a logical link?
Well, for example, they're trying to fit like to a they're trying to lecture you on the kind of word, like you're using a word, for example, that has a specific meaning in terms of like day-to-day language, not really adapted to a kind of context, and you explain them to that very clearly. For example, after that, they say, but you said this in that way, and it precisely at that moment, after you actually explain clearly and from where you were coming from, like they don't want to take like the fact that they are wrong, like the capacity for them to just process the information that they're just being like basically just trying to push what they want instead of like taking the loss, basically.
Okay,
You
that's
know?
interesting. And that is sounding to me more extrovert logic oriented as well. There's certainly the idea that people whose understandings aren't actually in alignment to factual reality, and then
Exactly.
take on board those facts and actually then update their processes and their knowledge. That is sounding, yeah, more extrovert logic. That's interesting. That is interesting. So, let me see. So, what criticisms do people still have for you?
Usually,
Yeah.
uh, that's a good one. I don't know. I think I don't take things like too seriously. They're like you're too like you're not like you don't. It seems like you're in your own world, you know, and stuff like that. You don't appear like really serious, but I'm always like reliable. I never stood up anybody. I always take my duty seriously. It's just like my conception of time and when I can do things. Like I don't need to over prepare because I basically trust things like the how things are playing out, so I know how to organize my schedule. And that the kind of that's the kind of criticism I get the most, I guess. It's like not really being serious when things have to be serious, or like in the menial task, like the routine kind of thing, the repeated kind of thing, the thing that I'm really slow at that.
You're really still at the routine tasks.
Yeah.
Okay. And why are those things you're slower at?
So it's all related like to all the odd jobs, like all the fixing stuff, or just like putting on furniture and stuff. Like I absolutely can't do it. Like it's impossible for just clumsy to employ. Like I'm good at breaking things, but putting them up, no, I can't. And all the like, if I don't need that to be done for me in a way that like I know it's for me, not like I'm not obliged to do it, but it's like more a thing for myself in terms of discipline. You know, like in that kind of case, I do it like really fast and well and everything. But if it's not an obligation, then I do it for someone else, and there's no real good reason for that.
Okay. Interesting. So day to day fix things. Something breaks, you don't know how to fix it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why do you find it easier to come up with solutions in, say, in your job, in your role? Why is that different from fixing day to day stuff around your house?
Oh, because there's no physical like it's not really when you have to think about things and think about a solution and know how to do the whole process, how it comes up and why it should work in theory, and it will, in I mean how it always works in the end. it's completely different to think about it, put up the solution mentally, and then give the solution, give it, and well, see someone else do it, I guess, assemble it and stuff like that, than doing the full process when you're like, if it's just like build like assembling a computer and stuff like that, I can do it, but anything else, I'm just too clumsy about it. Like it's kind of ridiculous. And but I don't cook either because I'm a catastrophe. I just try to stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And okay. Now, when was the last time that you felt intimidated by someone else, and why?
Intimidated. I guess it's always coming up from like there's the knowledge and there's the physical threat, I guess. Like really, like that person knows what she's talking about, or he knows what he's talking about, and you know that like you can see like there's a lack of remorse or something, and they can easily crush you if they really want to. But it doesn't really happen a lot. Like because some people are just really like physically threatening, but they don't have any will, as odd as it sounds. So it kind of cares like there's not really like no good reason to take them seriously at all.
I see. Interesting. I'm considering other possibilities here. So I am considering as a possibility. I'm not seeing SCE. I'm not yet seeing SCE. I am considering a possibility of ILI, and I say that because I'll say why. Because that idea of being able to come up solutions in the abstract, but once it's in the concrete, suddenly it's a more difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it's unusual for, say, an SCE to not be able to handle solutions in the concrete. I'd also say that an ILI still keeps this suggestive extrovert sensation of wanting someone else to do the pursuing. It also shows the inability to relate, well, not relate, but the sort of a difficulty in terms of interacting with others. Because it seems to me that when people get upset by what you say, you don't care.
Yeah, basically.
But you can build closer friendships with a few people, mostly online. And you're still building your surroundings around you in that sort of focus towards this long-term goal. Again, I can see that still happening. But the problem there is this idea of going for, like, how confident are you that you're going to be a successful life coach? How confident are you in that?
I don't think it's like so much being confident than really giving all I got and see where it will lead, basically. I know I got all the skills and things that I can do, and I can do it really well. And after that, it's all about like doing the right things at the right time to come up. Because like if you want to be self-employed and everything, it's really the whole networking aspect is really really important. So I have to work that out first, and then we'll
Right.
see.
Now that's interesting. That would not be very ILI. That is pursuing it with that sort of concept that simply through working hard enough at it, you'll get where you need to be.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is a tricky one. This is a really tricky one, Florian. You should throw me a real hard one. I know people are considering SCE. That last answer would be more SCE. I'm trying to now get to an understanding of why in your relationship, when they weren't so certain about what they were going for with you, you basically, did you say actually that you ended up removing yourself from them, you left them?
Just the dynamic. Just the dynamic, but I kept the person.
You kept the person. Right. Yeah. I see. Okay.
And we actually fixed it, so yeah.
Okay, you actually worked with them, you fixed it, you got right to her perspective, and you fixed it. Okay, interesting. Yeah. No, okay. That is giving me a lot more clarity there. Thank you. Okay, that was a data point which was contradicting, but that makes more sense now. Okay, so, Okay, so going back to the relations with people, what would you say is a reason why you don't have more friends than you currently do?
Yeah, because I basically like after my last breakup, like it was with my fiance. Basically, I was engaged and stuff, and it was about to go to the wedding and everything. And I was like, okay, so all the friends I got right now, like I don't like. It was the kind of same people who were always doing some sort of like blackmail or not really consistent and everything. And I thought myself I had to remove myself entirely from that. So I dropped like all my social media accounts. I dropped all my friends. I dropped everything. I came back to online communities like this December, basically, when I joined the Transcender, so I'm in Cat's Discord and trying to like go kind of like carefully back toward people again because I was really working hard on myself and I didn't want to go back to all the drama and everything. Like I didn't need that in the slightest. So yeah,
Right,
basically that's the gist.
right, okay. So that was a big leap. That's a big change.
Yeah,
So you weren't in that right sort of environment. You just dropped it completely, and dropped all the entire web of contacts there.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But in
Because like
terms of,
there's nothing to fear actually. If you fear to lose something, like it's just I don't know. It's not productive. Like you shouldn't be afraid of change whatsoever. I think it's completely like it's a block from the mind.
hmm,
There's no value because if you fear to lose, you'll never change.
yes. Hmm. Okay. I'm starting to see SCE more. Yeah. I'm starting to see SCE more. The certainly it's sort of rushing at it, sort of running towards your goal, not really having a clear idea of you just it's the idea that you want to do this thing. If you work hard enough at it, you'll reach that particular point. Hmm. How how often do you need to actually rest, or would you say that you're someone who works very hard?
Just at night, basically.
You work at
Like
night.
no, I mean like when I just need like when my work shift is over or anything,
Mm-hmm.
just like the amount of hours needed for me to rest and get back at it, I guess. Like I used
Mm-hmm.
to do like when I was working with kids and everything, I used like to do like 9 a.m. midnight kind of shift all the time
Mm-hmm.
without any days to rest, and it wasn't really a problem.
Okay. So also, when you left that sort of entangled web of relationships, right?
Yeah.
How did you actually make sure that you kept people at a distance?
Well, as I said, I deleted all my social media accounts. I made sure like to block everybody. I even changed my phone number. Change of location, basically.
Hmm.
I just dropped everything behind, like literally.
Wasn't that wasn't that stressful to do that?
No, no, not in the slightest.
Was there any sort of anyone you would have liked to keep from that?
I kept one guy because like he just kind of like randomly found me back a friend from my school, basically.
It was a friend from your
So it
school.
was from high school, yeah, when I was like 17 years old, but I dropped him eventually because he was the kind of guy who was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and he would not show up, you know. And since I was trying to completely get rid of like that kind of dynamics with people, or even for myself, like a couple of weeks after, I just dropped him too.
You also dropped him as well. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And why did you drop him?
Oh, just for because he was complete, he was not reliable. Like he didn't mean what he said. Basically, it was just all words, no actions.
Okay. So when you right. So people when they need to mean what they say for you to keep them.
Yeah,
Have you
that's really important. Like,
and how many people have you found who mean what they say?
not a lot actually. Most like but just my father, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
My my grandfather, Duke. Hello, Duke. um, and and that like romantic prospect I got now because she's still kind of going through it is just like a difference in language understanding, I guess.
Ah, okay. She speaks different language to you.
No, she speaks English too, but it's just the words are not really literal, you know. So that's what you told me, as I said earlier, to use the "what do you mean" more often.
Okay. Interesting. So there's a real requirement for people to, well, to say what they mean, and this almost all or nothing approach with your relationships, where you can drop people if they're not showing that sign that they actually are saying what they mean. But you don't feel you can trust them.
I mean, like it's a thing to actually say things and to try to gain trust and everything, and it's an entirely different thing to actually do it and mean it and put yourself out there and like because it's really easy to just like get at your emotions and saying things. But at the end of the day, there's no change or no actions, which is just like you're being used, you know. So yeah.
How do you like to learn new information?
I search them. I searched the data actually to see if like I can grasp all the nuances because on more technical subjects like such as I don't know computers or TVs or kind of sort of experiences, I'm just gonna go read every kind of source I can find basically. It's
To
actually
read
like
everything you
knowledge. Yeah, it's not really like knowledge for the sake of like knowledge. It's just to be sure that I'm not missing any angle.
Right, I see. Okay. And how do you know that the knowledge which you have is relevant?
If it's been like approved, basically, like if it's really related to the kind of application I need to solve a problem and everything, that's all I know. And then after
Yeah.
that, like when everything clicks, I can see all the possibilities and I can apply that in different kind of scenarios. Like it just clicks naturally.
Okay. How do you define weakness?
Weakness. It's not having any kind of will to push through things.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, sorry, it's not having the will to push through things.
Will to push for things. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any friends who say what they mean what they say, but could also be a bit weak?
No.
Okay. And why is that?
Because they're actually acting on it.
Right. So you need the will to act on what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So what sorts of flaws in people are you more willing to tolerate?
Well, so basically being unreliable is a big like it's one of the things I hate the most. Like I can't stand that at all.
Yeah.
The whole meaning thing, that's another one. And like using like negative emotions to almost appear like you're hurt or something, you know, to like almost compel your interlocutor to feel pity or something like that, just to get comfort and everything when it's just like you know it's fake and everything. It's okay, get over it, get up and stuff like that's not gonna work, you know. You know.
Yes. Okay. Let me see. How many relationships have you had? Close relationships.
In terms of romantic, I mean, or
Romantic. Yes. Sorry.
um, maybe 7.
Okay. And and is there were you usually the one breaking up, or were they the one breaking up with you?
No, I started breaking up with my fiance actually. Before that, it was always like being discarded basically. It was always a place where like the person was like, oh, I found someone else, or oh, I don't know what I want, or you know, stuff like that.
I see. See. So this desire to be of service to others, where do you say that comes from? When did you first realize it's something you wanted to do?
When I So when I went to school, I had a friend who was I get to know someone who was basically like always like a ball of anger, basically like a really like kind of hungry guy, and he had really happy thoughts like I'm gonna kill my parents and stuff like that all the time. And I was like, dude, you can't say that, like it's kind of fucked up. And so I kind of like trying to like not understanding, but not leaving him alone, basically. So
Mm.
like he didn't have to like bear the pain and all of that. And I guess that going forward, like after some point, I went through like a career test, and it was all orienting toward like everything that had any relation with trading, like well, stuff like that. I was like, okay, so basically I'm good with people. And after some point, like my bosses, when I was working in for Microsoft, were like, okay, so you're really good with people, you're really good with like the whole selling thing and stuff. It's just like the day to day and the menial task. You're not really. I was like, okay, well, if I'm good at this, I'm just gonna keep doing it. But no, you know.
If you found it yourself doing it, you realized something you were good and just kept on doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, Florian, I'd just like to explore more. Your grandfather, what
Yeah.
did he say to you to make you know you needed to be a coach?
It was like, okay, so my family is like, it's consisted of like really, really rich people, like the whole dad family, like they're really success, high achievers, um, kind of do or die kind of mentality. But when I saw him, I was like devoid of any like, passion to live or anything like that. It's just really statues, statues, statues. And my grandfather, like, he saw that I was like, okay, so you got the intelligence, you got things, like you got all of it going for you, and I think you're meant to do beautiful things, basically. Because he was the only one who was trying to really understand me. And see, when he said that, he was like, you're meant to do something beautiful with your life and possibly help others. Like, I think, yeah, that's when I knew that it was like kind of like seeing through me in a sense. And I felt like I guess it stuck with me. And since then, I was like trying to kind of like keep that vision afloat, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think that's completed the puzzle, Florian. I think so. This has been a long one. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
But I'm thinking SE is now making sense. And I think that last piece was important there in terms of the introversion, intuition, suggestive. It seems to me now this isn't a vision which you took on, you just created that for yourself. Rather, you had a range of different roles, quite erratic seeming roles, different places, no real clear connection, no clear structure. Other than that, you like to be of service to people. You found that something which you enjoyed doing. That experience of your grandfather, he saw something in you in terms of where you needed to go, that you were meant to go in this particular direction. And you took that forward with you. That became the cause which you're now carrying forward. It's not a cause you created yourself, it's what your grandfather gave to you.
I mean, it kind of enforced that because basically when I was like 17 and I began to take the courses to become like a holiday camp myself because I really enjoy like working with children and everything. Like I knew basically back then that was what I wanted to do. And it's just like him telling me that when I was trying to figure out stuff on a more like deeper level, I guess. That's when it just like, yeah, it just enforced it.
Yeah. It's like a lack of confidence in terms of what the direction should be. It's something you wanted to do, but that confidence was needed to actually be. And the idea is that the confidence in terms of what you need to do to get there, you just put in all the energy and you end up getting there.
Yeah, basically.
Now there's a lack though of interest in sort of the day-to-day applications in your immediate environment. There actually isn't much introverted sensation. It's more you just need to work hard enough to get to that particular point. Now, it's interesting in terms of relationships. There's a harsh judgment, which I think is coming out. Very much harsh judgment. But also, this fundamental independence mindset, where you see it talking about yourself as someone on their own achieving things for themselves. Relationships do touch you, relationships do work for you in that respect, but there's an overwhelming focus on particular relationships and maintaining those particular relationships. It's more about the energy you're putting in to achieve the things you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Being strong about struggling, going against particular things. So I thought it was more braggadocious to begin with, but now it's showing up more consistency in more different ways. I'm seeing it's coming across more authentically now. As before, I was having trouble seeing it that way. The extroverted logic makes sense as well. That demand of people to actually align to factual reality. That needing to see evidence for people doing what they say. Shows in terms of their character, and then actually the actions taking place. We're seeing things a lot of things in terms of will, framing things in terms of will makes sense for an extrovert sensation leading type. It's a consistent lens through which you are seeing how worth is estimated by the amount of will they show, not just in terms of physical strength. It is multi-dimensional. It's about the will which they show. It's about the determination they have, and that can be in terms of a physically strong person, can be in terms of a physically weak person. But it's that they actually have a strength which is almost internal to them, which you can pick out.
Yeah.
The judgment of their character, which is so important. So I can see it's like a major way in which if it colors everything else which you see the world around you. The introverted logic, I think, it shows as being vulnerable in that some of your answers are very inconsistent, and it's difficult to me to really piece together those inconsistencies.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would say that, yeah, as I said, that you can learn factual information and apply it to solutions in the roles that you're interested in. In your job, when there's some sort of pressure. But when it comes to sort of day-to-day stuff immediately around you, you say, this is not interesting to me. This is not really important. I'm managing without it. So you're then not using your extroverted logic there. You're sort of narrowing how you're focusing your extroverted logic. I could have explained that in different ways and different types. I think it can also make sense for an SCE who's just ignoring the introverted sensation, those day-to-day needs around you. You're sort of trying to plow through. And it seems to me that you're trying to plow through towards the coaching. And eventually you get more of a lifestyle where you're relatively well off. You've got someone close to actually share that with, someone you trust. And it's interesting that in your relationship with someone, with that person who's now your very close relationship, they weren't very clear in terms of what they wanted. They weren't clear in terms of them wanting you, but you were able to turn that around. You got a sense of where they were coming from, and you reversed that. In terms of how you relate to other people, it does seem to me that rather than you not really knowing how to relate to other people, it seems to me to be more a question of you're meeting people, you're judging them based on their actions, and they're not measuring up. When they're not measuring up, then you're cutting them off. And you don't mind confrontations. You don't mind confrontations to actually push things. If things turn into a more of a fight situation, you don't care. That's fine. That's okay. So there's clearly a grizzled toughness there. I've seen other SEs be more diplomatic, but I think not LSEs have to be diplomatic. I think that's fine. You talk about extroverted ethics. It is coming out, enjoying being around people of a certain mood. And actually, when you're working with someone on a one-to-one, you almost want to create certain moods to actually lift up their spirits, which we talked about before. So I'm seeing extroverted ethics there as well. But I'm seeing that couched within these more gamma values. I'm seeing it couched within more pushed extroverted sensation, extroverted logic, and also this introverted ethics, which, although it may appear to be more like a leading function of an ESI, at the end of the day, you're not someone who's focusing so much on these close relationships. An ESI, they identify things through their relationships. For you, you're identifying things through your willpower, and relationships are something which you are forming, which are very important to you, which is how you then see if other people are showing will. It's about the willpower at the end of the day. And you're showing more than enough extroverted logic to suggest it's not a suggestive function. That when you are interested in something to learn more about it, you are taking in factual information and you are using it across a large range of different data sources.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
And I think
Or,
I like, yeah.
but it's
I
also
was
sort
like,
of miss. Go on, sorry.
oh, sorry, it's not important.
No, okay. And again, introvert intuition, that's the thing which I can see now. I can see it's coming from your grandfather. It's provided, it's outsourced, and that's an important thing. That's something which would suggest suggestive rather than any other. I'm trying to think what else I can say. Extrovert intuition, I think it's there. There's a stubbornness to you, which is interesting, but it's not this sort of, but it's sort of a stubbornness, or I'm not going to back down in a sort of a conflict rather than I'm not going to change my mind. You talked about situations where you actually have changed your mind, but it's not something you actually like to do, but you are capable of changing your mind. You see, for instance, with your girlfriend, use that as an example where you have changed your mind, and where you have also tried to get into other people's perspectives. So once I pushed you on that, I saw signs of that happening. And indeed, if you weren't really low in extrovert intuition, I don't see how you would be able to answer my question as you have in terms of, for instance, I asked you, what happens if you couldn't be a coach? You said, oh, well, then I guess I could do something else where I'm being of use to someone, I'm doing something to do a service to others. And that's just extra intuition is there. It's not beyond your capability. It's also not something which you are so strongly against, but just feel unnatural when you'd rather stand your ground and push for what you want to achieve. So those are the reasons why I'm thinking SE is making the most sense. But this was certainly one of my harder interviews to do. And I feel it's good to be challenged in terms of having a harder interview to do every now and again, because I've been having a lot of easy interviews recently.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
No. Well, I think it makes the most sense actually. So I'm not really needed to ask anything.
Thank you. I think it does fit in terms of the fact that I was thinking a beta type for a lot of it, but I couldn't find any particular beta type which could fit. I think there may have been something around accent as well, maybe a bit more difficult for me to understand everything you were saying.
Yeah. I guess so.
No, it's fine. It's I've often had difficulty with French accents. I'm not sure why. I just struggle with understanding them, picking out the words. No, but that was good. I think this was a useful exercise for people. People seem to have enjoyed it. In which case, Florian, I wish you all the best. Lovely rest of your week, and stay safe from this virus. And I'll send you a link. I'll send you my SCE link later as well, so you can read it.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any questions, come back to me, because I'm not saying you are definitely an SCE. What I'm saying is that seems to make the most sense from what we managed to review so far, and I'm very much open to revision and even having a second interview if necessary.
Very well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Take care now, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
You too.
Bye-bye.